Trevally were one of my favorite groups of fish to target in the rivers this year. I caught up to some high 50 models there that went very hard, especially on the gear that I was running. So let me take you through how I targeted them. Most of the Trevally around here are giant Trevally with a few diamonds thrown in. I did catch some goldens, but they weren't really in our local systems. And my favorite setup for this was a 1 to 3 kilo ultralight BFS setup. I found to get good numbers of Trevally, it paid to keep my eyes and my ears open. That means to pay attention to both the sounder, predominantly side scan. You can see a team of Trevally cruising through there quite easily, but also trying to notice, is there a wake being made from a team of Trevally cruising around? Is there bait getting busted up in a snag? Those sorts of things. Oftentimes, if I notice those things and I was fast enough to get a quick cast into where I thought they were heading, I'd often catch them. So I'd prefer accurate casting over distance, hence why I prefer a bait caster outfit, but I also prefer some slower sinking, lighter lures, so BFS gets that done. Regarding line, I ran 8-pound braid and 6 to 12-pound leader, but more often than not, 6 to 8 pound in the rivers that I'm fishing in tend to get the most bites, especially with Trevally. So my first lure that caught me a stack of Trevally this year was the Rapala Crush City 2.5-inch Imposter. I found that hang time is the name of the game with these Trevally. The slower that lure's falling, the more often they'll come and smack it. So I would rig this on a 1/12 to a 1/6 ounce 1/0 finesse hook jig head. I found that the lighter gauge hook really helped with getting a hook up with the Trevally, since a lot of those bigger models especially will just hit it at a sprint and keep moving. And sometimes it's really hard to be that fast to get the hook set. So this means naturally from them just hitting the lure, taking some drag, the hook's going to penetrate their mouth. Color-wise, I found that colors that stood out and had great contrast worked best, with neon yabby in low light periods doing some damage, and Lumo Candy and Bloodworm UV during the day. The second lure that worked great on the Trevally this year for me was the 2.5-inch Crush City Creeper, rigged on that same 1/12 to 1/6 ounce 1/0 jig head, with yabby and purple haze being my favorite colors in all water clarities. On the top water front, when the Trevs are busting up and it's a great day smacking tons and tons of Trevally, I found two lures to be super effective. The first would be the Rapala Skitter Pop in both the 5 and the 7 centimeter size. It didn't really matter, I guess the 7 centimeter you can cast a little bit further if that's going to help you on the day. But you can really pitch these things. There's a lot of weight for such a small popper, so you can swing them quite easily under a branch, under a snag, right up into the shallows where those Trevs are often destroying some bait fish. These skitter pops have such a satisfying bloop that it does call them in if your casting isn't spot on. It will bring them in from quite some distance. And you can also just slightly twitch it with the rod tip down and walk the dog. If you don't want to bring it too far, you want to keep it on their head or keep it in a snag, because you know maybe they've been feeding on bait fish in that snag. You keep seeing them on the sounder swing around somewhere and come back. You can just keep it twitching there. Next time they come around, oftentimes they're going to grab it. I couldn't really tell you the best color with the skitter pop. I used frog just for fun, but honestly, I think it's more the action than the color that's getting the bite in these top water lures. Lastly, definitely my favorite way to target Trevally, simply because it's so fun, is throwing massive pencils for them and walking the dog. So the best lure for that is the Rapala Precision Extreme Pencil Exo. It's a mouthful, but oh my gosh, this is a huge lure. It's 127 mil. So in the river, that's pretty big. It's also 26 grams, so you can put it on a heavier bait cast outfit and still peg it a mile and be super accurate. But what's special about this pencil compared to other ones is how easy it walks the dog. Straight away, the first night I threw this lure, immediately it was walking perfectly. And oftentimes with walk the dog lures, it takes a second to work out exactly what it wants. Not with this one. If you've never walked the dog before, these lures will do it for you. And since then I've thrown the smaller precision pencils and they all walk just as easy. It also has this dual frequency knocker that sounds kind of like a horse trotting, which sounds weird, but it seems to call them in. The Trevs especially absolutely smash it. So I hope these tips and these lures help you out. Thanks for watching.